Hello, everybody, and welcome into Blue Jays Today, where you always have something to say with the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Nicholas Blaylock.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle, and today, guys, opening day is just 2 days away, and we're going to give you our Blue Jays projected lineup for that opening day game against the Baltimore Orioles on March 27th. And if you haven't already done so, guys, go in the description and reserve your seat for Amsterdam Brewhouse. We're going to be there watching the game live, doing a bunch of giveaways, some trivia, watching the game live, and doing some stuff pregame, too. Doing a lot of fun stuff, so go reserve your tickets. But before we do, let's give a projection on that opening day lineup that we're going to watch on March 27th. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Blue Jays Today if you haven't done so already. The lineup right now is kind of up in the air. I mean, we watched it all spring training. It shifted. People went up and down the lineup. And now, with the opening day roster being announced, we got some new faces that are going to be into this argument on who deserves that opening day nod.
Well, let's start off with what we're almost sure of right here, folks. We were going to do this one by one, but I think it's fitting, actually. Can we bump this thing down by 3? Because I'm pretty sure that we know what the top 3 is going to be, everybody. Bo Bichette leading things off, playing shortstop. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. batting second at first base. And then Anthony Santander, he is going to be batting third, at least in our opinion, and I think pretty much everybody's opinion right now. That's the top 3. Things can change as the season goes on. But those are your 3 best hitters right now. Those are your 3 best guys. When they go, you go. And ultimately, we need them to go as many times as possible, which means put them at the top of the lineup.
Absolutely. And if you are, someone who's just tuning in to Blue Jay stuff after a long offseason, you're like, oh my God, Bo Bichette's laid off, Vladdy batting 2, what happened? Well, I think the Blue Jays are under the philosophy this year where you just got to throw your best guys at the top of the lineup. Bo looks phenomenal this spring training if you missed out on that. So you got to put him lead off, Vladdy batting 2. And then, of course, Santander, the guy who signed, who hit 44 home runs last year to drive in those 2 guys right there. So 1, 2, 3, don't overthink it. That's the top of the lineup. After that is where things get really, really interesting. And a lot of the decisions that we made right here projecting the opening day lineup is based on what John Schneider has put out there in his lineup and based on kind of what we're feeling that is going to happen on opening day up against Zach Eflin, right? And then based on performances as well in spring training. So let's go on to number 4. Your Blue Jays cleanup hitter to start the year in 2025 is Andres Jimenez at second base. What happened there? Why are we putting Jimenez at second base here, Nick?
Well, ultimately, we've seen him move up and up and up those spring training lineups pretty much all spring so far. Initially, if you would have told me that Andres Jimenez was batting 4th after we traded for him, acquired him, I've been like, you're off your rocker.
Yeah.
But it does feel like they want him to be up there at the top. Actually, in a couple games in spring training, we were even seeing him like bat leadoff or bat 2. That hasn't really been the case recently, as of late. Also, shout out to the fact that they just won the Golden Grapefruit, by the way. Phenomenal work right there. But as of late, you've been seeing him in the middle of the lineup, typically behind those top 4 or top 3, excuse me. And one of the reasons why is the speed that Andres Jimenez has, right? There's a lot of guys that you're going to see behind him. Spoiler alert, Kirk's going to be there, George Springer's going to be there. Guys that are getting either older or slow, and ultimately you want to have Andres Jimenez up there. They're playing for the upside. That is a spot that he could certainly lose as the season goes on if he's not playing well. But based on how he did in spring training, I like it a lot. Well, fingers crossed he can walk into the season like that.
That's the thing, right? You're hoping Jimenez's upside is that he has a high batting average, right? He did that in 2022 when he was an all-star. So high, the upside is, okay, he can knock in a couple singles, knock in some of those guys that, Mr. Santander didn't clean up. And I like the idea that you said there where he can go and almost be like another leadoff hitter in that 4th spot where, he flips the table for these other guys and gets on base. If he's not good enough to beat Bo Bichette or Vladdy be up there, at least he can be batting 4th.
Yeah, and if you do go 3 up, 3 down in the first inning, it's like, okay, well now, we're entering into the second quote-unquote lead-off of the game, right? And you got Jimenez there leading off for our 5th guy right here, who is, who did we say?
George Springer.
I forget. We were going back and forth on this one quite a lot because putting George Springer into this lineup, it was a tall task. You're kind of balancing the fact that, 1, he's not been playing very good. However, 2, he is a veteran, and the Blue Jays front office and the management just seemingly love him. So they're always going to have him in there somewhere We think it's going to be 5th.
Yeah, and look, this could change any given day. I mean, we were even looking in spring training. He was batting all up and down the lineup, even with all the veteran guys in there, all the OGs. Like, he was batting 5th some days. He was batting 6th on the final day against the Pirates. Like, he truly was 6th again, with Jimenez batting ahead of him. So there you go. There's another key piece of evidence right there. So he was all over the place. So really, 5th right now is safe because it's like, okay, again, like, you are the veteran guy on this team. Let's see what you can do. He did have a terrible spring, as Nick alluded to. Like, my goodness, good thing he hit a home run in the second last game because he truly needed it, because or else it'd be a really awful spring bat of 108. So he's 5th for now, but that can change that could change in game 2 if he struggles. Like,
and
seriously.
When we get a little bit later in this lineup too, you're going to see as to why George Springer is kind of the roadblock for a couple other guys making it into this lineup. So again, if the spring performance trickles in to the regular season, you might see his name go a little bit lower, or you might not even see it at all in this lineup. Now, batting behind him, we got the captain who just got his bag, everybody. Alejandro Kirk, $58 million man. I love that deal. I think, honestly, most people, I made a video about this a couple days ago, most people were very happy with it. There were a couple trolls in the comments saying that they hated it. What are we doing? I love it. You love it.
I love it.
This is our catcher for the future. You know what I mean? And he's going to be batting 6th.
That's right. I know a lot of people were saying, like, well, why did we trade away, Gabriel Moreno and extend Kirk? Listen. This guy's one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. He's proven it. And hell, whenever ABS comes into the play, that dude's going to be absolutely rocket dynamite at that. His percentage of, like, overturning calls is actually unreal.
Also, too, like, I don't want to turn this into a Kirk glaze or anything like that, but you're talking about a 26-year-old who is one of the better defensive catchers in all of baseball. And in his career, I know last year wasn't great, but in his career is batting .264 with an OPS of 735. And from a catcher who is one of the best defense, you know what I mean? Like, all of these things are very, very good.
We're talking about less than $12 million here, guys, like, per year. That's basically nothing. So Kirk, we love him. He's batting 6th right now, and he had a very, very good spring. Look, he drove in 8 RBIs, and a lot of them were just singles. He doesn't have the long balls much.
Well, he did have two. He
did have 2, so the slugging was up there. The OPS creeped up there near the end. But yeah, Kirk, look, batting 6th, I love it. I could actually see a very easy switch between Kirk and George Springer. Like, if Kirk's still being dominant, or even hell, like, if Jimenez is struggling, Kirk's batting 4th, back in his, like, usual cleanup spot back in 2022.
Yeah, and again, folks, this is our projection right now. Don't be surprised if, a couple people, move down or move up type thing. This is how we see it. But yeah, to your point, I could see Kirk batting 5th and Springer batting 6th, potentially. Now, number 7, there is some debate right here. We were going back and forth a lot. Whoa, time for a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code down below to join the action. Only available in Ontario. Must be 19 years of older to participate. Please play responsibly. Now, everyone, back to the content. Inevitably, we landed on Will Wagner at the DH spot. Now, Adam, you made a very strong argument, and again, I appreciate and respect the argument. I hear it. I could see it happening, but you made a very strong argument for Alan Roden.
Yeah.
Give us your 2 cents right there. I know we inevitably said Will Wagner, but tell us why Alan Roden could be here.
Well, they called up Alan Roden to the big league roster for one reason, and that was to play baseball. And, what better nod to a guy that's your 5th prospect who slugged the shit out of the ball and had very good plate appearances, better than Will Wagner in spring training. What better nod to him saying, hey, kid, you get opening day lineup. We believe in you. Ross Atkins believes in you. The whole management, the whole front office believes in you, and the fans believe in you. What better nod on opening day than to see Alan Roden in the lineup? Imagine that standing ovation he gets when he comes out for the names, for the lineup call. Like, that's for me. And honestly, I could see it, because here's the reality. Until George Springer hits the bench, you're going to see a split playing time between Will Wagner and Alan Roden. Yeah. And that's going to come between Alan Roden playing left field, shifting Santander over to DH, and then knocking Will Wagner out. And then, as you can see the way we're right now, Alan Roden doesn't have a place to play because you got George Springer in right field, and Anthony Santander out there. So for me, I think it could easily, it's a 50-50 toss-up. But opening day, we inevitably land on Will Wagner, who you were saying, he's got, 100 at-bats in the big leagues. He's been around the club. Why not give him another chance?
It feels to me like one of those things where, again, walking into this offseason, he was the guy that everybody was super hyped about. And, again, like spring training, he was fine. Like, he didn't have Alan Roden levels of spring training, but it feels like very recently the shift to Alan Roden has been massive because of how good he's been in spring training. I just don't want to forget the fact that Will Wagner is one of our, potentially the most exciting young guys that we have on this team right now, that could break out. I don't think that the management has forgotten about it. And again, it's just, one guy has played in MLB before. We have the bright lights of opening day. One guy hasn't. We're going to give the nod to Will Wagner. And then, on Friday, we're going to give the nod to Alan Roden.
Dude, I mean, you could even see like this happening. They're going to give the nod to George Springer on opening day because he's George Springer and they're paying the money. But dude, I could see by like game 4 or 3 of this series, George's like, dude, I'm tired.
I'm gassed.
I'm gassed. I got to sit on the bench. Boom, there's Will Wagner and Alan Roden in the lineup. That would be exciting.
Honestly, I think everybody would be pretty happy about.
Way more exciting than having George Springer clog up the 5th spot.
But that is what we have at 7. Number 8 in this lineup, Mr. Ernie Clement. This is honestly like where a lot of people have this guy. We were cross-referencing with, Fangraphs, RotoChamp, various other projections. Feels like everybody's kind of aligned that Ernie Clement, again, great player, going to be in the lineup.
Yeah.
He will be at the bottom half, though, batting 8th.
Yeah, I mean, again, he had a phenomenal spring. No one's really talking about him too much. He almost batted 400 in spring training with an OPS almost near 1,000. Ernie Clement, he was always great in spring, gets off to a hot start, and he doesn't strike out a lot. He's the most, you kind of know what you're going to get from Ernie Clement and having him down the 8th spot, batting with a high average, like he had last year. 263 for a guy in your 8th spot. It's pretty darn nice. And then with the ability not to strike out, maybe earn a walk, turn the lineup over, put the ball in play, do something with it. That's pretty reliable. And again, doesn't hurt to have the great defense of Ernie Clement. For me, he's going to remain the third baseman until he's got a long leash, for my opinion. Until proven otherwise. There's also an argument that like Will Wagner could play a little bit of third base too, right? That could be a way for him to get in the lineup other than just DHing with Andres Gimenez clogging up the second base bag. So like if Ernie Clement starts to struggle or wary or whatever, and Will Wagner's just hot, you got to keep him in the lineup. Then maybe see that a way for him to get in and putting Ernie Clement on the bench.
But opening day, Ernie is going to be your guy, and we got him down there batting 8th. 9th, last guy here, we have Miles Straw. Now, a couple of these other lineups have Nathan Lucas. I hear it. He's been with the team significantly longer than Miles Straw. But ultimately, when you're down at this part of the lineup, this is what it comes down to for me. When you're down at this part of the lineup, offense, matchups, right, lefty, right. I don't know if that much of it matters, and I think that they're going to be thinking more about we want to have our elite Dalton Varsho defense that we don't have right now because obviously Dalton Varsho isn't there. We know that Miles Straw is that guy. That is why you brought him onto this team, like quite literally the new Kevin Kiermaier. I think that they go with the defensive route here. They put Miles Straw in there and they say, okay, we're gonna go 0 for down there at the 9th spot, but you know what? He might make a nice play out there in center field and it'll make up for it.
That's the thing, right? Like that's the only reason why he's here is because you don't have Dalton Varsho. You want to supplement that great defense that he had, and Miles Straw is very similar. Not as good as Mr. Dalton Varsho, but still you want to supplement that defense a little bit, and that's also part of the reason why Ernie's in the lineup too, because he's got great defense. So you got your defensive guys down there in Clement and Miles Straw, and that rounds out the opening day lineup. Now by game 2, like we've been saying, game 2 or 3, this could be completely different. You might see Alan Roden get thrown in there. You might see some other guys get some play time. Maybe Nathan Lucas takes over in center field for a couple of these games because, look, if Miles Straw's bat's sucking and, maybe you have a guy that's a big strikeout pitcher like Max Scherzer coming up and pitching on game 3, then maybe you go throw, Lucas in there and hope that you can get, a couple of strikeouts, not so many balls in play. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm open. I think by May, by June, this lineup could look completely different.
Of course, right? Keep in mind, we were one of the worst offensive teams last year. So now we are walking in kind of looking at it through rose-colored glasses because, obviously, Grapefruit League champions. That's really exciting. But there is still a lot of question marks here. You gotta hope that what these guys found in spring training can translate into the regular season. And opening day, we're going to get to see that firsthand, hopefully. So folks, let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Hit that like, smash the subscribe button. $4 a month come a YouTube membership. And thank you to all of our current YouTube members. You guys are amazing.
Guys, thank you so much for watching.
And as always,
go Jays, go!